Hello, I'm Dr. Christina Kinney, and this session is Navigating Student Visas with Kutztown University. So, the first thing I want to talk about is our new student checklist. This is a list of items that all newly admitted international students should complete prior to arriving to Kutztown University. Steps 1 and 2 is what we will focus on during this session. Step number 1 is all about paying a deposit or confirming your enrollment. And this step changes whether you are an international undergraduate student, exchange student, or graduate student or graduate exchange student. So, undergraduate students must pay a $300 enrollment deposit. This is not an additional fee that you have to pay. It will actually be applied to your first semester Kutztown University bill. If you decide that you need to defer your application to a future term, we will defer this deposit for up to 1 year. How do you pay the deposit? First, you're going to log into your applicant status portal, view your decision letter, and then the payment window will appear saying payment due $300. So submit your payment for the $300 and then provide your billing and contact information to submit. However, if you are a graduate student, you do not have to pay the $300 deposit. Instead, you are going to accept your offer of admission that Kutztown provided to you. In order to do this, first log into your applicant status portal, view your decision letter, and then a box will appear that says, "Do you accept the offer of admission?" If yes, update to "I accept my offer of admission," and that you can move forward. Step number 2 is all about the immigration steps. So for the rest of this presentation, I will be focusing on everything related to step 2, which is helping international students get an F or J visa. Now, some international students are on another visa type, so we don't provide immigration advising for students on, for example, an H visa, M, L, or others. So this presentation is only for F and J visas. First, you're going to log into your applicant status portal. You're going to upload several documents, such as a copy of your passport, financial documents, and the financial sponsorship form. For the financial sponsorship form, you must sign the top portion of the form. And if you have anyone in your life, such as family member, a friend, or a business that is sponsoring you to study in the United States, they must also complete this form. So you're going to upload those documents directly to your upload materials on your applicant status portal. Finally, you're going to complete the sources of funds form. This is an online form where once you get to your application checklist, you click on sources of funds form and you complete the form right then and there. The financial sponsorship form is a PDF document that you must download and physically complete. So let's talk about the evidence of financial support, how much you need to show, and how do you show this. So we have an international tuition and cost chart for students in a bachelor's program, master's program, or exchange program. The total annual estimate at the bottom of this chart is the amount that you have to show both to Kutztown University and to a visa officer in order to get your F or J student visa. So, for example, for this academic year, anyone earning a bachelor's degree needs to show $31,283. The good news is that any scholarship that you have received, any funding award, any graduate assistantships, these are considered financial evidence. So these can be included as part of your financial support documents. For example, if an undergraduate student has a scholarship worth $10,000, they only need to then provide additional financial support evidence for $21,283. What type of documents are accepted other than scholarship documents? First, bank statements or bank letters, and these can be from your specific bank or a family member's or multiple. It does not have to be one bank. The bank statement must be under 3 months old, so we will not accept bank statements that are a year old. They must be in English, and there's specific information that must be available on the statement or the letter, such as who owns that bank account, so the name of the account holder, when the document was issued, the account balance, how much is in the account, and the type of currency and the type of account that it is. We also accept documents related to loans or external scholarships, as long as these are on official document, official letterhead, and include the student's name and other pertinent information. What documents do we not accept? First, we don't accept old documents, as I have stated, but we also must receive documents that money can be accessed very quickly. So if you have an account that's related to stocks and bonds, these funds cannot be accessed very quickly to pay a bill. Therefore, we do not accept these types of investment accounts. Once we receive all of these documents and you've submitted all forms, paid your deposit, confirmed your enrollment, once we receive all of these things, Kutztown will issue you an immigration document depending on your visa type. So if you're going for an F1 student visa, we will issue you a Form I-20. And if you're going to apply for a J1 student visa, we will issue you a Form DS-2019. If you are unsure which visa type you are applying to, please ask the international office at Kutztown and we will provide you more information. So, if you're applying for an F or J visa, after we provide you those forms, those immigration documents, you then need to pay a SEVIS fee. It's called the SEVIS I-901 fee, or SEVIS fee for short. And then the fee is different depending on if you are applying for an F visa or J visa. There are some citizens of specific countries where no visa application is required. The only thing that is required is that you pay the SEVIS fee and you keep the receipt, and then you'll show that particular receipt at a port of entry. What if you are already in the United States with an F visa? So instead of paying a SEVIS fee, instead you are going to submit a SEVIS transfer request. Your immigration advisor at your current school, whether a high school or college, must transfer your SEVIS record from that school to Kutztown University. We have a SEVIS transfer in form that you can provide to your current immigration advisor that has our university information on it, as well as a suggested date for your SEVIS transfer. Once your SEVIS record is with Kutztown, that is when we will issue you your Form I-20. After you have these documents and you've paid this fee, the next step for those who are applying for a new visa are completing the Form DS-160. You'll go to that particular website that we have linked on our information, our instructions, and you'll select a location to apply for your visa. You'll create a profile and make sure that you save the information regarding your application ID. This will allow you to take your time with your application. So some general tips for completing out this form. There are documents that you need to gather. So I have some provided examples here on the screen. And then because there's processing times related to this form and the CVIS fee, we suggest that you apply for the Form DS-160 about 3 days after you pay the CVIS I-901 fee. That allows some time for the systems to update appropriately. Additionally, the DS-160 must be completed at least 48 hours or 2 days prior to your visa interview. Sometimes we actually recommend at least 1 week before your interview because the visa officer needs enough time to review your form, your information, and there could be delays if you do it too close to your visa interview date. Additional tips for the form: be truthful, of course. Providing false information or misleading information can result in a permanent ban from the United States, including for future opportunities for coming on a tourist visa. Make sure you're answering every question that is required. Don't leave any fields blank. Even if the question does not apply to you, remember to answer either none or non-applicable to that question. The information you submit on this form must also match information that you give the visa officer at your visa interview itself. If anything doesn't match up, it is a sign of falsehood, and you could be denied. We do suggest that you print copies of your answers prior to submitting the form itself, since you will not be able to change them after you submit the form. This will allow you to just double check information prior to your interview. After you submit the form, you'll receive a confirmation via email, and it's very important that you save that confirmation. This is a document that you may be required to bring to your visa interview. You will also need to pay a fee for completing the Form DS-160. Right now, it is about $185. Also, save the receipt for this payment because you will also have to provide a copy of this at some point. So the next step is to schedule your visa appointment. There is a website you can look through, a list of embassies and consulates that might be more convenient for you if you have multiple within your country. And we recommend having your appointment about 3 to 4 months before your program start date. However, you can apply up to 1 year before the start of your program. We track in our office the visa appointment wait times for different cities around the world. So the chart on the screen, you can see that some locations, they have a wait time of less than half a month, so 2 to 3 weeks. There's also locations where the wait time is 1 month, 2 months, or longer. So be sure that you're checking your wait times. If your wait time for your particular consulate location is very long, you need to start the process much earlier than your peers in other countries and locations. Once you have your appointment date confirmed, you will be notified via email. Please share your visa appointment date with our office by just emailing us. We do require that you have your appointment scheduled by a specific day. So if you're going to start at Kutztown in the fall semester, your visa appointment must be scheduled by the first week in August. If you're going to start at Kutztown in the spring semester, you must have your appointment scheduled by the first week in January. What is the reason for this? If your appointment is too close to our international orientation and the start of the semester, you are likely to not receive your visa in time to attend this required orientation and get registered for classes and prepare to be successful to start the semester. So if your visa appointment is later than those suggested times, we will recommend that you defer your application to a future term. Preparing for the visa appointment. There is a lot of documents that you should be bringing to your appointments. The ones that I have on the page here are the required ones, but there are also optional ones that we have seen students bring in the past, such as photos of your family, copies of your course schedule, copies of your first semester bill with proof that you've paid something towards the bill. We have seen students bring proof of property ownership overseas that shows ties to your home country. Whatever you bring, just note that the visa officer may not ask to look at any of the documents, but it is better to have additional proof with you so that if they do ask you a question, you can access it and provide it immediately. So, some visa interview tips. There are three things that a visa officer is trying to determine at your visa interview or by reviewing your documents prior to your visa interview. First, what is the purpose of going to the United States? You are applying for an F or J visa. These are specifically student visas. So the answers and information you provide must support that you are in the United States for the main purpose of being a student. Second, can you afford to live and study in the United States? The estimated financial proof that we request of students does not only include tuition, housing, and fees. It includes things like local transportation, health insurance, and other personal expenses, an estimate for these, so that you understand that you need to support yourself while you are living in the United States. So the visa officer is going to check that you have enough funds to study at Kutztown University based off of the financial information that we have provided to them and the financial evidence that you have provided to them. Finally, they are trying to determine if you have plans to immigrate to the United States, or will you return to your home country upon completion of your program. Because you are applying to an F or J visa, these are considered non-immigrant visas, that your intent is to leave the United States once the purpose of your study in the United States has completed. If you show evidence that you might either stay in the United States beyond your visa or do things on your student visa that are not appropriate for that visa, you will be denied. So, some general tips from our office. Of course, first and foremost, you want to be knowledgeable. They want to know why you have chosen Kutztown University. They want to know why you have chosen the specific major that you have or the specific program. So, make sure that you understand some basic information about Kutztown University and your study program. Next, be comfortable. We want you to get a good night's sleep, eat some breakfast before your appointment because we don't want you overly tired or overly anxious. Third is be confident, and this is very much American culture. But we want you to smile at the appointment and give eye contact because in our culture, it's a sign of trust. Do not lie at the appointment. The officer is trying to determine with your answers at the visa interview and your application if you're being truthful in what you're telling the visa officer. Also, don't assume what their question is. If you're having a hard time understanding the question or maybe understanding their accent, because Americans do have accents, make sure that you're asking them to just repeat the question or say that, sorry, I don't understand the question. That is much better than guessing what question they asked and giving an answer that is not appropriate. Last, but most importantly, do not memorize your answers. The visa officer in American culture, they will see this as a sign that you are not being truthful and that you don't really understand the reason behind you applying for a student visa. So be authentic. So we do have visa interview sample questions listed on our website. I have some here on the slide, and I've highlighted just 3 questions that are very, very common for students to get. First, why did you study? Like, why did you choose this university, or why did you choose your major? Second, what are you going to do after you finish your studies in the United States? And then third, like, have you been to the US before? What did you do while you were here? Do you have family here? And again, these questions are going back to what the visa officer is trying to determine is the reason you're applying for a student visa. So, a quick summary of the visa interview. Again, confirm the purpose of your travel to the United States. You are here to complete a degree at a US institution or to participate in an exchange program. 2, you need to confirm your funding resources, that your academic costs and living expenses are covered by scholarships that you have or other funding. And last, you need to confirm your intent to eventually return to your home country. So prove that you have a permanent home abroad, that all of your family, maybe a fiance or spouse, your friends are overseas, maybe your future job offers or future schooling is in your home country. This is a summary of the fees that are related to applying to a student visa. So the first one, of course, is that Kutztown University enrollment deposit for undergraduate students. We have then the CVIS I-901 fee that differs between the F&J visa. And we have the DS-160 application fee. There are some countries that unfortunately have an additional fee called the visa issuance fee. And this is determined by the country to country relations. So you can look that up online. And to close out the presentation, I just have a timeline summary, again, of the student either paying the deposit or confirming their enrollment, submitting the required documents, and paying the fees, preparing for the visa interview, attending the visa interview, and ultimately at the end, providing a copy of your visa to Kutztown University so that you can prepare for your travel and arrival to the United States. If you have any additional questions about navigating the student visa process or specific questions about a step in between, please email international@kutztown.edu.